सहाफियों में पाकिस्तान से तलत हुसैन भी शामिल हैं। तुर्की ने एहतजाजन अपना सफीर इसराइल से वापस बुला लिया है, जबकि व्हाइट हाउस ने हलाकतों पर अफसोस का इजहार किया है। रिपोर्ट्स के मुताबिक कब्रस से आने वाले 8 बहरी जहाज गाजा के लिए इमदादी सामान और 800 इमदादी कारकुन लेकर गाजा की पट्टी के करीब पहुंचे तो मोटर बोट्स और हेलीकॉप्टर्स में सवार इसराइली फौजियों ने बहरी जहाज को घेरे में ले लिया। फौजियों ने जहाज में घुसकर अंधाधुंध फायरिंग शुरू कर दी। सहाफी तलत हुसैन समेत जहाज पर मौजूद पाकिस्तानियों का हमले के बाद से राब्ता मुनक़ता है। तुर्क वजीर खारजा अहमद ओगलो ने कहा है कि इसराइल को इस कार्रवाई के नताइज भुगतना होंगे। फलस्तीनी अथॉरिटी के सरबराह महमूद अब्बास ने इस वाक़े पर सोग का ऐलान किया है, जबकि हमास ने अरबों समेत मुसलमानों से अपील की है कि वो इसराइल के खिलाफ इंतकाजा की तहरीक शुरू कर दें। दूसरी जानिब व्हाइट हाउस ने हलाकतों पर अफसोस का इजहार किया है।
International seas was unlawful, but I think the most important point now to consider, now that these events have happened, is who will take responsibility for a full, thorough and independent and credible investigation. And I'm afraid the track record of Israel in terms of conducting a credible investigation into such events is bad, and they still haven't complied with the basic requirements of the UN fact-finding mission on the events in Gaza and satisfied the international community of a thorough, independent, credible investigation. It's very important, therefore, that this investigative phase is not undertaken by Israel, because no one, in my view, can have confidence in Israeli investigations.
Okay, Daniel Makova, thank you very much for talking us through the legal steps. Well, Anita McNaught is live in Istanbul. Anita, what's the response been there?
Well, the response has been, as you might expect, anger and outrage from all sectors of Turkish society, whether you're talking political or civilian. We've seen the Turkish Prime Minister come back early from his trip to South America. We've seen the Turkish Foreign Minister head off to the United Nations in New York to urge for a UN Security Council meeting, which we understand is happening tonight. And we've seen the Turkish Foreign Ministry rally the ambassadors of the various nations who are gathered in Ankara to a big crisis meeting at the Foreign Ministry to decide, I would imagine, especially after listening to your previous interviewee, what action they should take next. This raised all sorts of questions listening to that fascinating discussion of what Turkey's options might be. This raises all sorts of fascinating possibilities about what the Turkish government might feel it now has to do, might feel it wants to do, Jane.
Yeah, because it's such an important player, such an important mediator, because by all accounts, you say that they're outraged, but their response has been relatively subdued, considering their boat has been boarded and some Turkish citizens have been killed.
Well, it's been subdued in part because the Turks do not know who exactly has been killed. The Turkish Deputy Prime Minister called a press conference where he accused the Israelis of hiding that information in order to control it. I think once it is certain who has been killed and once it is known for sure whether Turkish civilians were caught up in this, we might see a very different story. But of course the Turks have the moral high ground here, and it would be utterly inappropriate for the government to be seen to be encouraging any intemperate actions on a day like this. The condemnation has been universal and very audible, but it's more than the fact that Turkey is a mediator in the region. Turkey's status and stature in the Middle East has not been this high for decades. Some would say it's not been this high since the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Turkey is a crucial, pivotal figure in the Middle East these days, and by virtue of some very strong words, often levelled against Israel, plus some very crafty diplomacy, plus the opening of new relations with all sorts of former antagonists, Turkey has gained the respect of many of its neighbours, and all eyes will be on Turkey here to see it take a leadership role in dealing with this, because whatever the view is in the West, in the Middle East, the Arab street, the Turkish street, have had enough of Israel's behaviour in Gaza, and that leads us to, of course, the domestic political calculations being made here. It's an election year next year, and the Prime Minister has very much made a name and earned huge plaudits at home from being very, very critical of Israeli conduct in Gaza particularly. Gaza is a touchstone for Turks about egregious acts in the region. And the Prime Minister, as he flies back from South America, will be weighing up very carefully what his response should be, because anything less than a very, very tough, very statesmanlike, very concerted response from him will not be helpful to him and his party as they approach an election year next year.
Okay, Anita, let's leave it there and go over over to Nisreen El-Shamaya. She's live for us in Amman. We know that some Jordanians were on board the boat. Any news of them?
No news, Jane, yet. There are 25 Jordanians on the flotilla. It took the government 6 hours to issue a statement here, strongly condemning this attack on the flotilla. This is not about the 25 Jordanians. This is about a country where almost half of the population is of Palestinian origin, and where the government is not doing enough here to do anything about what's happening in Gaza. The Jordanians here who have been protesting and who say they will continue to take to the streets say a strongly worded statement and summoning the chargé d'affaires at the Israeli embassy in Amman is not enough to address this problem. What people here in Jordan want is something similar to some kind of resistance project. They want this peace treaty that Israel has with Jordan dropped so people can take matters into their own hands. So there's very severe disappointment in the government. The government has always had a cold stance when it comes to issues and events in Gaza, probably because of fear of not honoring its obligations in the peace treaty, also because of fear of the West and the international community as a role model in the Middle East after Egypt for signing a peace treaty, and also because Jordan has very poor ties with Hamas since 1999 and does not want to show the world that if it does anything for Gaza and the people of Gaza, aside from sending humanitarian aid and treating Gazas and the field hospitals there, they don't want to show them that they have ties with people of Gaza and with Hamas. So strong reactions coming from Jordan are not unusual. This expression of solidarity is not unusual. We are hearing of many other protests and rallies that will take place in different areas in the country. We're also hearing that some groups are looking to approach the Israeli embassy in Amman. Now, they have had bad experiences in the past during Israel's war on Gaza, where Jordanian anti-riot forces, which are currently surrounding the embassy in Amman, have clashed, caused some major clashes between civilians and the police. So they don't want that to happen again, but at the same time they say they will vow to continue these protests until something is done. And more importantly, we're hearing from the Jordanian professional associations, the syndicates and the worker unions, the 25 participants on the flotilla are all members of these syndicates and unions. They are saying that they will launch a Fredom Flotila 2 within the next few months in order to continue their fight in trying to break the siege on Gaza and to further irritate Israel and punish it for what it's done this morning.
Okay, Nisreen, with that update from Amman. Well, one of those allegedly wounded in Monday's morning's raid on the flotilla was Sheikh Raed Salah. He is the leader of the Islamic movement in Israel. Israel has denied that Salah was wounded. Al Jazeera's Ayman Mohyeddin is in Sheikh Salah's stronghold of al-Fahm.
Here in al-Fahm, Sheikh Raed Salah rose to prominence within the Palestinian community inside Israel, both as a politician and a social activist, where for years he led the campaign for equal rights for Israel's Arab citizens, but at the same time calling on the Israeli government to change its policies and tactics, and that has garnered him both international recognition and a very strong following, not just within the Palestinian communities inside Israel and the West Bank and Gaza Strip, but across the Arab world and across the Islamic world. So certainly followers of the Islamic movement and its members are following very closely the developments regarding the fate of Sheikh Raed Salah. He is a person of great controversy for the Israeli government, who for years has tried to restrict his movement, his access to some of the Islamic sites inside occupied East Jerusalem. And so certainly any development on his fate or his condition will raise serious questions and possibly have a spillover effect among the Palestinian community inside Israel. And that is a great cause of concern for the Israeli government, which has put its police forces across all of Israel on a heightened state of alert. Ayman Mohyeddin.